Hi, everybody. My name is James, and I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk about this year's Formula One season because it has been so exciting. And I almost don't even know where to start, but I'm going to start at the end because this Sunday is the final race of the Formula One season in Abu Dhabi, and the stakes don't get any higher. This year's championship battle has been closer and more contentious than anything that we've seen in years. The two contenders, Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, are literally tied on points, which this late in the season is crazy. It's the equivalent of like 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, Game 7 of the World Series, or stoppage time in the World Cup Finals. You know what? It's like B-Rabbit in 8 Mile throwing up his mom's spaghetti in the bathroom before he goes out and wins the rap battle. Even if you haven't followed the season at all this year, I wanted to give a quick 30,000-foot view of everything that's important going into this last race. The big storyline this year is definitely the championship battle between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. Lewis Hamilton is a British racing driver on the Mercedes Formula One team and is definitely one of the best drivers in the history of the sport. Now, he's been driving in Formula One for 14 years, which makes him an older driver, and he's won 6 out of the last 7 Drivers' Championships. And if he wins again this year, that'll bring his grand total to 8, which means that he will have won more Drivers' Championships than any other driver in the history of Formula One. Basically, he'll be the certified GOAT. Again, he's tied on points with Max Verstappen, which is crazy this late in the year. It's like seeing a shooting star and another shooting star collide. Max is the son of a retired Dutch Formula One driver named Jos Verstappen, and Jos has been training Max since childhood for this. Max Verstappen is the youngest driver ever to be on a Formula One team at the age of 17. He's also the youngest driver ever to win a Formula One race at the age of 18. Now, he's been driving for Red Bull Racing for 5 years, and he hasn't won a championship yet. But this year might be the year where we see him become the fully actualized championship-winning driver that so many people think that he's going to be. It's like something out of a Rocky movie.
One more round.
If Rocky movies had fire-retardant onesies and $12 million boxing gloves. Red Bull and Mercedes have been the most dominant teams in Formula One for more than a decade, and Mercedes has definitely had the upper hand over the past few years. Now, this year's battle between the two teams has gotten super chippy. They've spent the entire year tattling on one another to the FIA about technical regulations like flexi wings or any minor infraction that might have happened on the track, and for the most part, it's just been really entertaining. Now, the team principals are Christian Horner and Toto Wolff, and those two have just traded verbal jabs back and forth in the media every single opportunity that they get. Now, on track, things have been even more chippy and in reality gotten pretty out of hand. Now, both drivers have made it very clear that neither one of them is willing to concede a millimeter to the other. And in Silverstone, in one of the fastest corners of the Formula One season, Max and Lewis crashed into each other, and Max ended up hitting the wall at like 150 miles an hour, and he sustained a 54G impact, which is super scary. And then later in the season, the two crashed again at Monza, and Max kind of ran over Lewis's head a little bit. Again, very scary moment. And the momentum between the teams has shifted back and forth throughout the season. In the middle of the season, it really looks like Red Bull might run away with it. Mercedes didn't seem to have an answer for Red Bull's speed, and Lewis Hamilton, he looked tired. But then the past few races, Mercedes seemed really energized. They made an engine change, which seemed to help a ton, and Lewis seems to really be up for the fight. And I think the momentum is in Mercedes' corner going into this final race. Now, all that aside, here's what you need to know about the Drivers' Championship. In Abu Dhabi, assuming one or both of them finishes in the top 10, whoever crosses the finish line first, assuming there are no penalties, will be the 2021 Formula One Drivers' Champion. And if both of them finish outside of the points, then the tie will go to Max Verstappen because Max Verstappen has won more individual races throughout the season. Sometimes I think Formula One doesn't do a great job at covering the entire spectacle that happens all the way up and down the Formula One grid on a race weekend. But I get it. I mean, there's so much drama between Max and Lewis that they make the Real Housewives look civil. So I understand. But there is a lot of other cool stuff that's going to be happening this Sunday in Abu Dhabi. The first 4 spots in the Drivers' Championships are basically already guaranteed to go to Mercedes and Red Bull because they each have 2 drivers on their team. So the best of the rest is a battle for 5th place. And there are currently 3 drivers that are very much in the hunt. Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc, Ferrari driver Carlos Sainz, and McLaren driver Lando Norris are all within 10 points of one another. And if you finish in the top 10, you get awarded anywhere between 2 and 26 points. Charles Leclerc leads Lando Norris by 4 points, and then Lando Norris leads Carlos Sainz by only 4.5 points. And a lot of times the midfield battle is really, really exciting because instead of just having 2 drivers that are always running up front unless, something happens, you have like 6 or 7 or 8 drivers that on any given weekend can be super competitive. It really is completely up for grabs, and it will be settled in the race this Sunday in Abu Dhabi. Kimi Räikkönen is a Finnish driver on the Alfa Romeo Formula 1 team, and he's retiring at the end of the season. So this Sunday in Abu Dhabi is going to be his last race in Formula 1, and it'll be really sad to see him go. He's really popular, and he's got a massively impressive resume both on and off the Formula 1 track. So he's the 2007 Formula 1 Drivers' Champion, and that year he beat Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso by 1 point. He then left Formula 1 and went rally racing.
One of the strongest runs from Kimi Räikkönen here since his F1 to rallying switch.
He then left rally racing and raced in NASCAR, and then he came back to Formula 1, and he blessed us with this absolute gem of an interview.
Kimi, you missed the presentation by Pele.
Yeah.
Will you get over it?
Yeah, I was having a shit.
Kimi, you're a legend, and we will miss you dearly. Kimi's teammate at Alfa Romeo is a driver named Antonio Giovinazzi, and Alfa has chosen not to renew his contract for 2022, and next year he's going to be driving in the Formula E series. He was a pretty good midfield driver, and he spent 3 years in Formula 1, and I wish him the best of luck. And this might just be my opinion, but I truly believe that Antonio Giovinazzi is the Formula 1 driver with the best frickin' head of hair I have ever seen in my life, and no one can take that away from him. Lewis Hamilton's teammate at Mercedes is Valtteri Bottas, and he is wildly underrated as a driver, mainly because his teammate is one of the best drivers of all time. Lewis Hamilton recently called Bottas one of the best teammates in the history of Formula 1.
Valtteri is the best teammate there has ever been in the sport, that's for sure.
And I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. He is Scottie Pippen to Michael Jordan, and he's leaving at the end of this season to join Alfa Romeo's Formula 1 team, which leaves one of the fastest and most valuable seats in Formula 1 open at Mercedes, which is a perfect segue to George Russell and Williams racing. The Williams racing team is legendary, and they've been around for ages. However, the past few years, they haven't been very competitive. They have really, really struggled to develop a race car that can go fast. Now, one of their 2 drivers is a young guy named George Russell. And George Russell has surprised everybody by making this slow race car go way faster than anybody thought was possible, and he's done it on a pretty consistent basis. And because he's shown this level of brilliance throughout the season, Mercedes has picked him to take that empty seat next to Lewis Hamilton for next year. And that's huge because Lewis Hamilton is not going to be able to drive forever, and what Mercedes is saying is that given all of the young talent that there is not only in Formula 1, but also in Formula 2 and Formula E and Formula W and in karting, that they think that George Russell is going to be the next person to take over that throne at Mercedes and potentially become one of the next great Formula 1 racing drivers. All right, everybody, thank you all so much for watching the video. Please share it with all your friends, and enjoy the race this Sunday. you.